Hey guys, Eddie K's RC coming to you again from my hangar. Welcome everybody. Wanted to get started on my tips and tricks video that I mentioned in my previous unboxing of the FMS Pitts 1400mm version 2. Want to start out by thanking everybody for watching that video, and make sure you continue to like and subscribe if you like this content. This is going to be a video on how I apply a finish on these foam models. I like to put a good finish on them. You know, we all know everybody has our fair share of hanger rash and getting these things in and out of cars and in our garages. Sometimes it's, we have problems with paint chipping and getting little dings on them. So I want to talk about some of these items that I use to finish these out that keeps them looking new a little longer. So we'll start off with a couple of the products that I've used in the past and have good results with. The first one right here is good old Pledge Floor Care Finish. You can find this at most of your big box stores in the household cleaner aisle. This is just basically an acrylic finish that you put on the models. You brush it on with foam brushes like we have right here, and it makes a nice glossy tough finish on the models. I usually, when I do use this product, I usually put at least 2 coats on them. These planes are fairly lightweight, the foam planes, and you are putting a little weight on your plane when you're putting a finish on it, whether it's the Pledge or some of the other finishes that you guys might be familiar with. But on a plane this size, a 1400mm, even if you put 2 to 3 coats on this plane, you're not going to be able to tell much of a difference in weight gain. If you're doing some of the micros, yeah, you'll notice some weight on those, because these do, it is going to add a little bit of weight to them. But a plane this size right here, I think the benefit far outweighs the disadvantage of having a little heavier airplane. The finish does a couple of things. A lot of these planes, these foam planes, have a little bit of a matte finish right out of the gate, and I can show you a little bit of a difference right here just on this wing panel. This is just the regular wing panel right as it came out of the box, no finish applied. This side, I went ahead and put 1 coat of a finish on this one, and maybe you can tell if I hit the light just right, you can tell that this has got a little bit of a sheen to it, a little bit of a glossier sheen. This is just with 1 very, very light coat. And I can already tell a difference in the finish of the actual wing. It already feels a little tougher. If you put your fingernail in this, it's certainly going to dent it, but trust me guys, this makes these planes a little tougher. This finish is actually, it is an acrylic finish, so if you layer 2 or 3 coats on here, it is remarkable how much tougher your plane is going to be. The second benefit is just the look. This particular plane, this Pitts, a scale Pitts will have a nice glossy finish, whereas most airplanes will. When they're glossy, you know, they're easier to clean and maintain, even on a full scale. Now, sometimes if you're flying a warbird, you know, you might desire that nice flat finish that we're all used to. But sometimes even a warbird can be glossy, you know. So it's always good to study the scale models that you're trying to replicate, and if it called for a glossy finish, this is a good way to put some gloss on this plane. Let me talk about the second product that I've used, and I have really used this a lot on my last few airplanes, and this is a Minwax water-based polyacrylic. This happens to be a clear gloss. I've got it in the spray can and the small can right here that you brush on. Preferably, I like to use this. I think you can get a better, glossier finish with the brush-on polyacrylic. I think it puts it on a little thicker, so it makes it you know, a little tougher, and you might not have to use as many coats as you would if you were spraying it. The downfall of using the polyacrylic spray is actually probably 2 or 3-fold. Number one is cost. This can is going to cost a little bit more than a small can right here. I think you can get more out of this because you can control it. When you're spraying this, you know, you're not only spraying on the panel, but you're getting it, you know, you're getting some blow by, so you're not getting your full benefit of where you can control this. What I do like to do is I will use this as a first coat, and here's the main reason. Sometimes I have found out if you brush this on the first coat, sometimes you can get a little bit of paint bleed. Now, if it's a single color model, you're not going to really notice it until you get ready to wash your brush out, and you'll notice that you're not only got clear polyacrylic coming off of it, you might have a little bit of a red tinge. Where you run into problems with that is particularly right here on your stripes or any type of white decal or lighter decal. If this paint were to bleed just a very little bit, it's going to transfer over onto your white decals, and it's going to kind of leave a little bit of a pink cast to them. And you know, I don't want that on my models, so I like to put the first coat, especially with a brightly colored plane, the paint has got a lot of pigment, I will put a light coat of the spray polyacrylic down to seal whatever paint that you have on here, so you can come back with your subsequent coats and you won't have that paint bleed transfer over onto your decals. And then you can go in and build a nice glossy finish, and this thing will look exactly like it's, you know, like you want. It's going to have a nice gloss finish. It's going to be really tough. I would probably put 2, maybe 3 coats on this one right here. It just depends on what that second coat looks like. If it looks like it's plenty glossy and you can kind of feel like it's kind of toughened it up, then you'll want to go ahead and stop there. But if it looks like it's not quite as glossy as you want, go ahead and put a third coat on there. You're not going to hurt anything weight-wise by putting a third coat on there. There's a couple other things that you want to watch out for when you're doing these. I like to make sure and mask off my servos and mask off your servo horns and your control surfaces where the control points where the push rods will attach. You don't want any acrylic getting in there. You can see here I've got my control rod off so I can complete this process. But if you had acrylic in here, that might give you problems down the road. You know, you don't want these little small holes getting filled up where you can't put your control rods in. Also, excuse me guys, you don't want to fill this area right here with acrylic. You want this to just remain just the bare plastic, because this is a pressure fit. And if you put enough finish on this, you know, you might have to shave a little of that acrylic off to get these cabane struts in there. So this is a product right here that probably a lot of you are going to remember from your childhood. And this is something that I have been using for years and years. I've got a plastic model background, and I learned about using this product years ago. And this is just silly putty. But this stuff is amazing to mask with. You're not going to lift any paint. It's easy to peel off. It's cheap because you can reuse this. I have painted and reused this right here for probably 2 years. I've been going on this. And you can tell it's no longer that pink silly putty color that we all remember. It's more of a kind of a brownish color. That's because I've painted over it numerous times. And all you have to do is just to fold it back up upon itself, and it just kind of absorbs that paint, and you can just reuse it. And the way I use it, let me stop the video real quick, and I'm going to zoom in and let you see how I do this. So hang on just a second, guys. Okay guys, I've got the camera zoomed in here, and I'm going to show you how I do this silly putty. This is, you just pull off a little small amount. I'm going to start back here on the control horn. Just kind of flatten it out into like a disc, about a dime size or so. And just fold it around that control horn. That will mask off those holes in the control horn really well and keep that acrylic from getting in there. Okay, next we'll start with the servo horn. Again, just pull out a little small disc size about like that. Just kind of flatten it out. Just take it and fold it around like that. Cover that servo horn up so you can see that. Okay, now to do the servo, take a little bit bigger piece, about that size, kind of get it in a uniform shape about like that, and just press it onto the servo. You can massage it and move it and make it go wherever you want to. It's soft and pliable, and it's got a lot of stretch to it, so you can move it a lot. When you get it close to where you want it, that's where I like to take a craft stick, just kind of push it along. Get it all the way to the edge. Get in that corner right there. Pull this back. Push it down. Get it everywhere you want it. That's all you have to do. Okay guys, if you've got young kids around and they've got silly putty, you can try it, or go get you some. Try it that way. But I promise you, this is a tip that will work great for you. And make sure you share this with all your buddies at the flying field. They'll be amazed at how easy this is. Okay, guys, like I mentioned earlier, in using the polyacrylic, I do think you get a thicker and a better gloss out of using the can by brushing it on with a foam brush. But I do like to put a light coat of the polyacrylic down out of a spray can. I won't bore you with how to do that, but I will give you a tip that maybe some of you have heard of, probably most of you haven't. For some reason, particularly this product, whenever you spray it without doing this extra step, I have always got spits and little blobs of extra clear coat that comes out. It's almost like it's too thick. But if you will follow this tip, I think it will help that, because it's helped me. I'll take a bowl and run hot water in it, as hot as it will come out of your tap. Let it run for a minute or so and get it good and hot, and then just set the can down in the bowl of hot water. Or you can use your sink also if you don't have a bowl that's big enough. But this does a couple of things. Number one, it thins the clear coat inside the can. The heat will thin the clear coat, and it'll make it spray better and flow better. And number two, it will pressurize the propellant inside the can, and that will make it spray better and hopefully not get as many of the little spits and the blobs that will come out. So just let it sit in the hot water for, maybe 2 minutes. Let everything get good and warm. Let that can get good and warm. Take the can out, dry it off real good, and then shake this can for a good minute, minute and a half. You really can't shake it too much. You really want to get it agitated, get that ball in there rattling really good, and get this paint, or not paint, but get this clear coat really good and agitate it, then you can start spraying. If you were to get a spit or spatter on the model as you're spraying it, all is not lost. Just make sure you have a foam brush handy while you're spraying it, and wherever you get a spit, just take your brush and just smooth it out, feather it out. But hopefully, if you follow this tip, then you won't have that much of a problem. Okay, guys, I did go ahead and spray one light coat of the clear gloss polyacrylic, just as an initial tack coat, and now I'm going to follow up with brushing on a couple of coats of the clear gloss out of a can, and I'm just going to show you how quick this goes on. So I'm going to start down here at the root end of the wing. I like to go in one direction. I usually go in the direction of the airstream first for the first coat. Sometimes with the second coat you can come back and do across the wing this way, but usually the first coat I like to go with the slipstream of the airflow. So just start. You don't have to load your brush up heavily. Just you just want to make sure that you don't miss any spots. Go around the leading edge. I like to do the wing and then come back and get the aileron afterwards. Just make sure you go in Try to get smooth coats, try to not have any build up. Sometimes where these simulated ribs are in the wing, you've got a little bit of a valley, and you can get some pooling there, so just make sure you spread that out really good. I like to work just one section at a time. Work this next rib section here. It's just a matter of smoothing it out. Just put it on lightly and just kind of hold it up every so often. You can see if you got any dry spots, that means that you didn't get good coverage there, and you want to make sure that you go over those and not have any dry spots. Moving on to the next one here. And you can see you're really not using a whole lot of product on this. This one can will do a couple of airplanes if you're careful with it and not get too much or not spill it. You know, this clear gloss, I think a really good benefit of it is it really seals these decals on here. You know, if you've got a decal that's got a sharp edge on it, sometimes you can catch it. But this puts a good acrylic finish on it, and it will protect that decal. You know, I usually try to stay off of my servos. It's just personal preference. I did mask them when I put the spray acrylic on there, but it's easy enough to work around them when you're using a foam brush. You can get in there pretty close up tight to them and keep it off of them. This usually goes pretty quick. Just want to make sure that you get this leading edge. Sometimes you can get some drips on there. And just kind of go around the back side and dry them up if you do get some. So we're almost through this wing. We're going to hit the aileron when we get done here. On to our next panel. You can see how easily this goes on. It doesn't have it's got a little bit of a smell, but it's not a paint smell. It's just kind of more like of a white glue smell. Not very offensive if you're sensitive to chemical smells. Start here at the end and getting a little dry out here on the end, so put a little extra. You know, this is the first coat. I will come back and put a second coat. I won't show you that, but I will show you a finished product about how shiny this is. Just let it dry. You know, depending on how warm it is, the warmer it is and the lower the humidity, it's going to dry a lot faster than it will if it's cool and you've got a lot of high humidity. But, you know, generally I like to let it dry a couple of hours, and then you can come back and put your next coat on. But it will dry nice and clear and hard, and it'll really protect it. Alright, let's start with the aileron. I normally try to stay out of the hinge line. Sometimes if you get some down in there and it pools, it'll make a little bit of a bump or a hard spot there. And when you deflect your ailerons, if it's stuck, sometimes you might pull a little paint. So I like to just stay out of the hinge line. Just get the leading edge of the aileron. That's generally all you need to do. I forgot to mention, You don't want to shake this product up. I normally just use a popsicle stick and stir it really well. And if you've got a prolonged section, like if you were doing the fuselage or a bigger section, you might want to even take a minute to stir it while you're, again, about halfway through your project, just to make sure all of it is well incorporated and stirred and doesn't get lumpy on you. But we're getting down close to the end here, so I'm not going to need to do that with this. But just flatten it out. Just make sure you get enough. You get enough on here. Hope you guys are seeing this okay. I think that you can. Okay, just go through and just run your foam brush down through there one more time, just to make sure you don't have any sags or runs. Hold the back side up against the light a little bit and see if you've got any spots that you've missed, any dry spots. You can generally tell it pretty easily. But this looks like it's okay, so we'll set this aside to dry and get on with the next ones. But I'll show you a finished product. Hey guys, well, I got it finished. As you can see, I've got a good glossy finish on it. Let me hold the wing up here so hopefully you might be able to see the gloss a little bit better. It turned out really well. It went on really smooth. Like I said earlier, I've got a light coat of the polyacrylic out of the rattle can. One light coat of that, followed up with 2 coats of the brush-on polyacrylic with the foam applicator brush. Just doesn't take all that long to dry in between coats, particularly if the weather's a little warmer. So, hey guys, if you got a rainy weekend coming up and you can't go fly, why don't you try to put a finish on one of your models? If it's something that you've never done before, I think you'll find out that it's fairly easy to do. It's not all that time consuming, and it really makes a big difference on how these things look and how they're protected. You can get the gloss, you can get a satin, you can get a semi-gloss, and you can get a dull flat coat for those military planes that need that flat look. So I chose a gloss for this one, but hey, it's up to you guys, whatever you want to do. Spend a couple of days doing this, and I think the benefits far outweigh the time that you use and any extra weight gain that you're going to have from putting this on here. So, hey, these things are, they are foam, but, if you treat them right and protect them, hey, they'll last just as long as a regular balsa model, sometimes longer. Hey guys, just thank you guys for joining in. Thanks for liking and subscribing, and make sure you do that if you haven't already done so, and I'll keep this content coming. Guys, y'all stay safe out there. Everybody have fun, and everybody keep them in the air. Thanks, guys.